I'm divorcing my wife of 17 years because of an old friend with benefits of hers. 1 month ago, I 43M found out that my wife's 41F male best friend, 40M, was actually her former friend with benefits, FWB for short, and that has enraged me to no end. Not just because they had that kind of past, but because she kept it a secret from me for all these years. To make matters worse, my sister, 40F, who is also my wife's best friend, knew about it and never told me. When we started dating 18 years ago, we agreed to cut all ties with our exes. Now I've learned that she's been lying to me about that for years. After finding out last month, I spoke to a lawyer and told my wife we were getting a divorce. Nothing she says or does now will change that. I also took a DNA test for my daughter, 16F, and twin boys, 12M, and have gone no contact with my sister. Some might say I'm taking things too far, especially with the DNA test, but there's a reason for it. Her FWB and I look strikingly similar. We're both 6 feet tall, have blonde hair, and blue eyes. Until now, I never questioned whether my kids were mine, but after learning about her past with him, I can't help but feel paranoid. On top of that, her FWB never got married because he claimed to have a free soul. It makes me feel like she just settled for me, and if he had ever decided he wanted marriage, she would have left me in an instant. The only silver lining in all of this is that the house we live in is in my name. I inherited it from my grandpa before we got married. For now, I've kicked my wife out of the house and taken her to her parents' place, where I told them exactly why we're getting divorced. I also told my kids because I believe they're old enough to know the truth. Since then, my wife has been calling me constantly, crying and swearing that they were just friends, but I don't believe her. I made it clear that even if the DNA test confirms all 3 kids are mine, I will still go through with the divorce. From what I hear from my brother-in-law, who lives near her parents, she's a complete wreck and barely eats anything. My sister has also tried to reach out to me through her husband, but I told them I don't consider her my sister anymore after wasting 18 years of my life. Honestly, if the DNA test comes back negative, I don't know what I would do. I love my kids more than anything in this world, and finding out that even one of them isn't mine would break me more than anything else. Comments. Commenter 1. To me, this all hinges on the fact that you agreed to cut ties with exes. She agreed to it as well, and then she didn't. She kept him around after agreeing to cut ties, and she spent 18 years lying to you about him. That has 2 implications. 1, he's more important to her than is appropriate, more important than her agreements with you, apparently, and 2, she's willing to deceive you, pervasively. Her word is now worth nothing in your ears. Given how much she's lied to you about him already, why should you believe her when she insists they're just friends? Commenter 2. Exactly this, the people saying dude, seek therapy and try to work through this, that's a lot to throw away, and that's a long time of being lied to with others supporting her lie. They are just not getting it. She is a fully grown adult woman and has a strange bond with a man who is not her husband to a degree of lying for him, in tandem with other family members. Others need to stop putting cushions under things. This is a rather disgusting thing. Update 1. First, I want to make some things clear. I didn't kick her out of the house like some crazy person. I asked for space, and she accepted. I then drove her to her parents' place, which is a little over an hour away by car. The idea of cutting ties with exes was hers. When she said exes, she meant people like my childhood friend, who I only dated for a month in high school, but somehow not her FWB, with whom she had a sexual relationship for who knows how long. Yes, cutting him off would have probably cost her half of her friend group, but the same thing happened to me when I cut ties with my childhood friend because of her boundaries. If she didn't want to lose friends over this, she shouldn't have been the one to suggest cutting ties with exes then. I explained the reason for our separation to our children. She lied about something important, and I was upset. I told them that I wanted us to take some time apart for now. The house isn't about money. It's about the sentimental value. It holds memories of my grandparents and childhood, and it's where I've made so many memories with my kids. That's why I consulted with a lawyer about the house first. I would still need to pay at least $100,000 to my wife for the house, but I'm okay with that. I asked her about her relationship with that guy 2 or 3 times early in our relationship. She always assured me that they were just friends, but I felt insecure and asked my sister, who knew them for 4 or 5 years. She told me their relationship was like that of a brother and sister, so I chose to believe her big mistake. The FWB was never someone who would settle down and have a family. For as long as I've known him, he's always been traveling, doing dangerous things, and chasing thrills. That's why I feel like I was the safe choice for her. The fact that she kept their relationship a secret from me for 18 years only makes me think I am right. The results of the DNA test don't matter, they will always be my children. Even if the results come back positive, I still want to proceed with the divorce. However, I should at least try 3 to 6 months of couples therapy, if not for myself, then at least for the kids. About the test results, I'll wait for my best friend before looking at the results, so I have someone for support. I'll post a small update in the comments once I look at them. Edit, like some people have advised, I should probably have her take a polygraph test to see if she's lying, and I will do that. Edit 2, update, so yeah, I don't really know how to start this, but my kids are mine by blood and soul. I can't even begin to describe the mix of happiness, sadness, and guilt I feel right now. But I wanted to give you all an update since you've helped keep my mind occupied and not let my thoughts spiral down into a dark place, so thank you all. So, about an hour and a half ago, my best friend, who I've known for as long as I can remember, drove nearly 3 hours to be with me and help me through this. After he arrived, we had a beer or two, and I told him everything. He just listened, letting me get it all out, and reassured me that he'd be there for me no matter what. After about 10 minutes, I finally gathered the courage to look at the test results and completely broke down. I collapsed into a crying mess. When I finally calmed down, we started talking about what I should do next. Should I try to save my marriage for the sake of the kids? Would that even be the right thing to do? That's when my friend shared something from his own past. When he was young, one of his parents cheated, but they still stayed together for the kids. And he told me, without hesitation, that it was the worst thing they could have done. He spent years wishing they had just divorced instead of forcing everyone to live in that kind of broken relationship. His words, along with some of the private messages I've received, really hit me. So, I've decided not to try to save the marriage. I will go forward with the divorce. But I also want to make sure that, even after it's over, we can still work together for the best interests of our children. That's why I'll be going to both individual and couples therapy so that we can learn how to co-parent in the healthiest way possible. I also am looking for a good therapist for my 3 children so that they can begin to heal as soon as possible. Comments. Commenter 1. Her having you cut off your old friend and keeping contact with this dude is wild. I would divorce her ass. Commenter 2. Yeah, that to me is the worst part. She prompted him to sacrifice his past and walk away from it completely, which he did, and then she wasn't willing to do the same thing. And then brought his sister into the conspiracy. I'm all about reconciliation, but that's too fundamental of a lie. And too long of one. I'd never, ever be able to trust her again. Commenter 3. The rules for thee, not for me is the biggest part of this for me also. Causing a cutoff of a significant part of your previous friend group, with her being the one to initiate it all, plus the blatant double standard smacks of serious control issues to me. Endgame for me. Final update. I wanted to post one final update on what's been happening after I talked with my wife when she got back from her parents. As you can see from the title, I've made up my mind to give her a second chance after going through her current phone and her old phone from about 12 years ago. We had a long conversation where I asked her why she made me cut off my exes while she still kept her former FWB. Turns out, her first long-term boyfriend of 3 years had cheated on her with a mutual friend, which made her deeply insecure about her future partners having female friends, especially exes. From the time we started dating until I made our relationship official after about 5 or 6 months, she was struggling with those insecurities. When I asked her to make our relationship official and get engaged, she had a conversation with my sister, who suggested that we both cut off our exes. My wife agreed, but my sister convinced her that the FWB didn't count as an ex because they had only slept together twice during a trip to Europe with some friends. Later, my wife regretted lying to me and wanted to tell me about her past with him, but my sister stopped her. She told my wife that bringing it up would only cause unnecessary stress and could even put her pregnancy at risk. Because of that, my wife decided not to tell me but tried to distance herself from him instead. Eventually, she planned to cut him off completely without me ever knowing. However, my sister had other plans. She had a crush on the FWB's close friend and really liked that friend group. She knew that if my wife distanced herself, it would inevitably break up the group, so she pressured my wife into going to meetups where the FWB would be, sometimes lying to her about who would be there. Another possible reason my sister did this was that she herself wanted to keep seeing her own FWB while being in a relationship and didn't want to feel guilty about it. That's the only explanation I can think of. I also asked my wife if she would take a polygraph test to prove she never cheated on me, and she agreed immediately without a second of hesitation. So we're going to try to save this marriage, starting with marriage counseling and other steps to rebuild trust. But first, she has to completely cut off that friend group and block my sister from everything. And to address some of the private messages I've been getting, no, I'm not an abuser, nor have I financially abused my wife. She has been working since our twin boys turned 2, and my mother moved in with us to help care for them while we both worked. And no, I'm not just looking for an excuse to leave this marriage because of some midlife crisis. I love my wife and my children, and not being away from them for weeks or months would be heartbreaking. Comments. Commenter 1. The wife's justification sounds like a young adult who decided to blame shift rather than take accountability for their own decision. Commenter 2. She's putting a lot of this on your sister. I'm not sure I buy all of that story. But if she's willing to cut them all off, maybe I could let it go. Make sure she actually cuts them off. Commenter 3. So odd, how do you know your sister isn't just taking one for the team here because of your reaction? I mean, I don't know how they could have faked messages on a phone that was in our house, hadn't been turned on in maybe 12 years, while she was at her parents' place. Commenter 4. It's so odd. I wipe all of my old phones. What would be the point of not doing so? I think it's too convenient. Here's decade-old contemporaneous evidence to prove my point. I mean, I don't really delete everything on my old phone either. I just transfer everything to my new phone, turn off the old one, and put it in a drawer. Commenter 5. People delete incriminating messages in real time. This proof is flaky. Make sure she completely cuts these people off, stay vigilant, she needs to work to earn the trust back. Commenter 6. Do you believe what she says about your sister? Has she corroborated what your wife says? Also, lie detector tests, if you're actually fucking serious about that, aren't admissible in court for a reason. I mean, it's not that I actually believe in lie detector tests. After reading about them and hearing what others have said, I learned they aren't as reliable as I thought. Honestly, I didn't even know they were real, I always assumed they were just something from TV and movies. But like someone mentioned in my last post, I should at least see how serious she is about taking one. And she really did seem like she wanted to do it, like she was eager to prove to me that she truly hasn't cheated. Commenter 7. Why was your sister's pressure to remain quiet about her former FWB and to keep up with this friend group more important than you? Hope this all works out for you, OP, but it definitely seems like at minimum your wife is too much of a people pleaser of everyone outside of your marriage and at worst is just blaming everything on others, primarily your sister, and not taking any accountability. Well, after spending 18 years with her and seeing those messages, I can say with certainty that it's the former. Commenter 8. Now that you've seen the extent of it and it's caused serious problems, is she going to work to change that and reorient her priorities? I mean, she'll need to work on that. I didn't think it was this bad, but she really needs to take it seriously and make an effort to change that.